it's Myriam and welcome to my very last Inktober themed video. So in this video I'm very quickly going to show you all my drawings, a sketchbook tour of sorts, and next I'll show you some footage of the booklet so that you guys have a visual to go with the concept. It's now available as a pre-order on my shop if you guys want to snag one. And last I'll show you some footage of the donation that we raised together via my sale on my shop at the beginning of Inktober, and the money I made from the first video that I posted about Inktober. So I'll be donating a profit of that to the Brain and Behaviour Research Foundation on your behalf at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. So let's jump straight into showing you these drawings. I'm going to do a very quick intro for those of you who might be watching this for the first time. This is part of a project called Inktober. It's a daily drawing challenge for the month of October in which you decide to do a drawing in ink, one per day, for every 31 days. And for this month I decided to follow the theme of mental health and mental illness. And that's because it's a topic that's very dear to me. I experience some level of mental health problems and I have a lot of loved ones who do too. And so I've always wanted to explore that theme more. And I thought that a good way of doing that would be to create art that is based on how I feel and based on my experiences, and in the hope that that would help others relate to it and, you know, create a community and a conversation and awareness around the theme. I consciously decided not to represent particular mental illnesses per drawing because I obviously don't experience most of them myself, and so I would not want to try and represent things that I am unfamiliar with, especially things as delicate as mental illness, because I don't want to unknowingly perpetuate stereotypes and cliches that may be harmful. So I decided to instead take a very personal approach and represent feelings that I feel, and if others could relate to it then that would be wonderful. And you guys were absolutely incredible. So let's jump straight into this. So this one is the one that was kind of started it all off, because it was the first idea I had and it was the idea that kind of inspired me to use this theme. And it's quite funny because if you look at the difference in style between this piece and let's say this piece, look at the difference. I've almost completely hatched on this on the character's body in this one, and this is day 20, and then this character is actually quite pristine in comparison. There's hardly any cross hatching, a lot of white spaces. I was really shy with my cross hatching when I first started it. You can even see the pencil marks where I started cross hatching with a pencil because I was so terrified of ruining the drawing. But I got more and more, you know, daring by the end, and I don't know if we can say I got more skilled. It's a matter of opinion really, but I got more comfortable, let's say, and I kind of started doing a bit more of it. So yeah, this was the first piece that you guys seemed to really like and kicked it all off. This second one seemed to be the one with the most consensus around its interpretation by all of you. Most people thought it represented anxiety, which I thought was really cool because I experience anxiety myself quite a lot, and I didn't go in with the particular idea of doing anxiety for this drawing, but I really like that you guys interpreted it that way. The fact that you guys interpreted my pieces in so many different ways, actually I learned a lot about myself through it, because I realized that yes, that's probably what I was trying to represent, even if it was unconsciously. This third one is a little bit similar to this one in the concept that you showed me things about myself that I hadn't thought about. A lot of you took it very literally. I had intended it to be very metaphorical, but a lot of you kind of related to it in a very physical way, saying that a lot of you pick at your skin and your scalp, and I think there's actually terms for that I'm sorry, I don't quite remember, but I realized that I do that too. By the fact that you guys were talking about it, I realized that that's something I do too. I pick up my fingers and my lips really badly, so that was interesting. I really hadn't made the link there, and that was super insightful. This one was a favourite from you guys too, and I really like it too. It was the most complicated composition I had done so far in Inktober, and I was really happy with how it turned out. All these hands are my hands. I took pictures with my phone and used that for reference. This one was a really popular one. It almost instantly was really liked by everyone, which just seemed odd to me at the time because I felt like it was, I hadn't quite managed it very well. But I've grown to really like it now. That's how most of my Inktober's worked. I kind of started off with a concept, drew it, weren't super happy with how it turned out, and then gradually loved them more and more, which feels good. This one, again, my hands as reference. And I used India ink for the background for that one. This one was a simpler concept because I was really tired, I think, that day, but I still really like it. I thought it was, I was happy about, I was happy with, that works better. I was happy with how it turned out in the end, even though it was simpler. This one was the first one that really, they all mean something for me, but this one particularly struck a chord because it represented my constant struggle to keep my mind from drowning me in kind of darkness, and it's kind of that teetering on the edge of falling in, basically, and constantly trying to tame my mind to behave and not overwhelm me. This one was one of the ones that turned out completely differently from what I was intending it to look like, and I liked it more than the idea I had initially. So that was interesting. This one and this one actually go together in vague concept because I wanted to highlight more of the kind of hope and positivity, if you can say so, that can also be linked to mental health and mental illness, in a sense that mental illness is as difficult as they can be, are also a way in which our mind works very differently from a lot of other people, and I think that can bring such beautiful insights into the world, and people can be so sensitive to certain things that others might not notice. And there's also a beauty in overcoming difficulties and becoming a person that is stronger from all these old ordeals, and I thought I wanted to illustrate that in those two pieces. This one was difficult because the narrative of it is complicated and detailed, and so I wasn't sure that the details would show up, and I'm still not sure they do, but I'm still fairly happy about how it came out. And this one was so popular. I think that's the one that you guys liked the most and bought the most prints of and stuff, and a friend of mine bought it, which means a lot to me. This one was another one where I wasn't quite over doing loads of details, so I decided to keep going. And this one was intended to be smoke. I was intending on the character dissolving into smoke, but I found this texture and I thought I preferred doing it, and I actually prefer it to the initial concept I did. And this one was really popular, and someone, I hope they don't mind me saying this, but someone got it tattooed, and this one I really struggled to do, and it was really successful for you guys, and I'm really happy about it because it was difficult for me to draw, and it turned out a lot better than I was expecting it to, so that felt good. This one you guys seem to think this is a dress, which made me laugh, and was unexpected. I pictured it as the body of the character being slowly filling up with water, and the creatures, the deep sea creatures, being just under the surface and being like personal monsters. But okay, the dress works too. This one was an exercise in contrast because I wanted to try and give them the feeling of light and a kind of darkness dispersing in the light of the character's head flame. And I learned that different inks reflect light differently, so that was a good lesson learned. This one you guys commented a lot about the fact that it reminded you of the last Airbinder. Airbinder, was that the one? I looked it up, and yes, I can definitely see why it would. And I think it's probably unconsciously inspired by Japanese folklore, this creature, because it's quite a common creature found a lot in like mangas and Ghibli movies and the like. So I think it's probably where the idea unconsciously came from in me. This one was one of the first ones where I didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do and I just started doodling. For all the other ones I planned the idea and I had a sketchbook, but for this one I just jumped in and did whatever I felt like, and I liked how it turned out. I'm not a fan of this hand, but it's okay. I still think it was alright. And this one again is one that's particularly struck a chord with me because that's pretty much how I feel a lot of the time. It's kind of this thing where you're keeping going and things are generally okay, but you still have kind of this looming, indescribable thing going on in the background of your mind. And yeah, I like this one. I was happy with this one. This is an idea I'd had for a long time, and I initially wanted to paint it with colour, but I decided to fit it within this theme because I felt like it expressed some things too that I wanted to express. And I like how the tree, I wasn't sure how to do the texture initially because I don't draw trees very often, especially in pen, because I never use pen to draw. But it was really popular. I wasn't super happy with how it turned out initially, and then I gradually liked it more and more. This one was really tough. I really struggled on a lot of elements on this one, but I actually end up being quite happy with the movement. I like the flow of it. The ribbon was tough to do, and I'm not entirely sure it makes sense, but I like the movement in it. It feels like a dancer, and I think I like that. This one was intended to be a simpler one because I think I was really tired that day, and I had intended on ripples and stuff, and my simple idea turned out to have really intricate detail on the mirror and stuff. I let go of the ripples because I didn't like how they turned out, and I think I actually prefer it without the ripples, but it turned out to be more intricate than I had planned, like most of them. This was an idea that turned out finished much differently to what I had envisioned initially, which was really interesting. I actually prefer how this is looking to the idea that I initially had. Another one that was intended to be simpler and turned out to be really detailed and take me ages. I tended to do that quite a lot. This one is another one that is close to my heart because I wasn't entirely sure I'd be able to achieve the transparency effect, and I really wanted to because it was part of the message. And I think it turned out alright. I think it was a learning curve, and I think it turned out okay. But I might revisit this concept in a later piece with colour and everything. This one was my burnout piece. I was exhausted and I found it really difficult to keep going, and I needed something simpler to do, so I went for this kind of clean concept. I had wanted an eye in the keyhole initially, but then I tried and didn't really like the result, so I gave up on that idea. And I think actually I'm quite happy with not having done the eye. I think it's more, oddly, I find it more expressive without having an eye in there. This one is, I think, the most obviously expressive and probably the less original concept in the bunch, but it felt so good to draw. Like, it's a definition of catharsis, this drawing. I had some things that had happened in that day that really angered me, and I needed to scream, and there's no way you can go to scream really without alerting everyone around you, and so I decided to draw it, and I decided to put all that punch that I needed to get out in the drawing, and it feels really good to look at even now, even if the idea might not be the most brilliant. It just feels good to look at for me, so I'm happy with this one. This one I was starting to tire out, and so some details I would fix. I think I'm going to revisit this concept because I like it, but I'm not entirely sure I'm completely satisfied with how I drew it. I think there's problems in anatomy, and the puzzle pieces aren't quite right. So I'll probably revisit this idea, but I liked it, so I'll come back to it. This one was how I felt on the day I drew it. I felt like I wanted to erase myself and disappear in the background. I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to do it because it felt like the best thing for me at the time, or if I wanted to do it because I felt like others wanted me to do it. So it was a conflicting feeling, and yeah, that's how I felt at that point. This one was an idea I had since the beginning. I decided to use it for one of the last concept because I thought it was a slightly more positive and, you know, flower head and opening up, and I wanted the faces to have a slight kind of serene expression, and the picking of the petal to be delicate, and I didn't want it to be dark and distraught. And so yeah, I decided to use it for one of the last pieces. And this is the one I decided to use for the very last concept. It's actually a concept that came to me at the last minute, and it fitted my feeling at the end of Inktober so well. It's I loved Inktober, don't get me wrong. It was one of the most amazing things I have done for a long time, and it was equal parts incredible and exhausting. And so once the pressure of it was gone, and once I realized that I had completed it and done pieces that I was happy with, and just that this whole project went so well, I both felt incredible relief and like pressure was released, and also like I had evolved and grown, and like I got a better idea of the direction I wanted my art to take. And yeah, it just felt I felt like this drawing, and so it felt like an appropriate end. But anyway, this is all the drawings. Thank you so much for being the most amazing audience ever. This project was mind-blowing, and I can't believe I've got this body of work to show for it. It's incredible. Thank you so much. And stay tuned for a little preview of the booklet that is now able to pre-order on my shop. See you soon! Okay, so let's have a quick look at my Inktober booklet. It's A4, so just a little bit bigger than 8 by 11 inches. It's the front page is card. It's not very thick, but it's still a bit thicker than the pages inside. The pages inside are 160 GSM matte paper, white paper. It comes with a little written preface by me where I say thank you and a quick little introduction to the project, a little bit about what I was trying to achieve. And then you have all 31 drawings numbered in the bottom, printed in black and white, obviously. And I really like the prints. They're super crisp, super clean. They're almost cleaner than the actual drawings themselves. And they look really good. I'm really happy with them. There's a few imperfections to this one booklet particularly, because it was a sample that I just ordered to have a look. So I'll be fixing all that before I send any over to you guys. The reason I chose A4 is because that way the prints are almost close, very, very close to real life, because my drawings are obviously all A4, and I just thought it'd be nice to have them full size rather than just in a tiny A5 format as I was initially intended. You have my logo on the front and on the back. I kept quite a minimalist style because I like it that way. And for any copy that you guys buy, I'll also stamp, sign and number every one of them personally. This booklet is currently available as a pre-order in my shop. I'll soon be listing it as a full-on listing, so don't worry if you feel like you're going to miss out on the pre-order. It will be a very limited edition of 200. I won't be printing any more than 200, so get yours while you can. The link is in the description below. A massive thank you to all of you that already bought one. You are incredible. And here's a little bit of footage from the donation I managed to make to the Brain and Behaviour Foundation on your behalf. Thank you so much for all your purchases and all your support and all your viewings of my video. I know this might not seem like a lot of money to maybe some of you guys, but this is an incredible amount for me. I've never been able to give that much to charity before, and it's just an amazing feeling, and I would really like to redo this in the future, maybe have a specific piece to sell for charity and things like that. So keep an eye out for other projects similar to this. On this note, I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye.